Driving down through Dorset towards the coast is Knowlton, tiny little hamlet in the middle of nowhere. And just outside of that hamlet is a very special place I thought we'd visit today. At first sight here, it's just an old ruined church. It's a 12th century church which stayed in service until the 18th century and had major additions in the 15th and 18th century. But when you stand back from it, it doesn't take long to realise there's something rather unusual about this church. This beautiful medieval church sits inside a henge. There's nothing left of the henge. There's no standing stones, there's no obvious markers, but the henge has never been erased. When I visited here, I found myself asking, why was the church put here? There's fields in every direction. So was it that this is a sacred spot? This is a spot that people felt a religious affinity to? Or was it an appropriation of a pagan past? Because if it was appropriating a pagan past, why did they wait 1,000 years? 1,000 years of Christianity in Britain before they chose to build their church here. This once holy place would have been abandoned for over a millennia before the church was built. And the church fell out of use less than 100 years after the aisle was added. Yet there's maybe a red thread running through this place. Surrounding it, there's Anglo Saxon burials. Lost to time, there's no marker stones. And there's large barrows and there's burials. And really, the henge would have been built 4,000 years ago. But this place, in the middle of nowhere seemingly, has always maintained a religious use, even though now it's gone and abandoned. But there's a Grade 2 listed church that has been standing empty for 200 years and will probably remain standing for hundreds of more years. Standing at the back of the henge, you can clearly see two trees almost merged into one. And when you go inside those trees, you see this place hasn't been forgotten as a place of religious practice and worship. But there are offerings. Wherever you see Iron Age sites, if you stray a little bit from them, somewhere near the trees, you'll find ribbons tied around branches, offerings, prayers, thought. And I've heard that on the solstice there's a small gathering at this site. But it's a really beautiful spot. I don't know why it was chosen for the henge, or why the church chose to build a church on this site. The church often appropriated festivals, saints, gods, rivers, places of worship. Why not this one? But there is something very special here. It's quite a unique site with 4,000 years of worship through very different practice. From the henge, the Anglo Saxon burials under the fields nearby, the late Neolithic burial mounds. And there is actually another 2 henges, but they're not as easy to spot as this one. So I definitely recommend coming here and taking a look at this beautiful spot. It's a really welcome rest on a drive down towards the Dorset coast. And it's a beautifully preserved, quiet little oasis of calm. I can see why it appealed to both ancient man and Christians and modern day respecters of ancient tradition. It's a really beautiful church, stunning little henge, and I definitely recommend a visit. And subscribe, and I'll be sure to visit some more henges and ancient sites soon. And hopefully some churches as interesting as this one, but I do find this quite unique. I can't think of another church built within a henge. But there's a continuity here, and a calmness as the wind blows towards the sea. You feel a long history here. There's no evidence that anything ever happened here of any significance. So you could write this place off as an oddity, an interesting combination of a church and a henge. But I think when people choose where to worship, there's a commonality between them. And you can see why this beautiful spot stands out to many different types of religion. Today it's abandoned and left as just a beautiful spot surrounded by fields. But it's preserved for generations because there is something important about this place. There is something interesting and unique. 4,000 years, people came here to whisper their prayers and thoughts, and to hope they were heard. And today, people still are. So I think this is a very special place, and I hope you'll join me for more.